and Robbo.
It's the most talked about TV show that's not on TV.
And I think you guys are amazing.
With raw, honest opinions.
This was not a mistake. This was a lie.
Exclusive stories.
Some industry insiders have been talking about this.
Is that a Ben, Rob and Robbo exclusive?
And plenty of famous faces.
I'm not wasting these gold moments on 60 Minutes.
The Ben, Rob and Robbo Show is the new way to stream your news.
This is the stuff that headlines are made of.
Live every Monday to Thursday at 1 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time on Ticker TV or Facebook and Twitter at BRR Show. Watch live or on demand.
Ben, Rob and Robbo.
Streaming across the globe, Ben Norris, Rob McKnight and David Robinson.
Ben, Rob and Robbo. News, entertainment, it's the Ben, Rob and Robbo. Ben, Rob and Robbo Show. Ben, Rob and Robbo Show.
Welcome to the Ben, Rob and Robbo Show. Here's Rob McKnight.
Sorry, I was looking the wrong way. Apologies, everybody.
Oh my God.
Welcome to Tipsy Thursday, everybody. Was that not a good... I thought that was a good gag. I tried something different. No?
No, I liked something different. No, good for you, Robbie. Good for you. I like it. I like it a lot.
Thanks,
Alrighty.
David. Ben,
Yeah,
how are
you're
you today?
No. It was very funny. You're a very funny guy. Always here for a good laugh, and especially when it's a Thursday, when I know that you guys have been drinking since 9:30 in the morning.
Benjamin.
Oh, come on. That's not fair.
Do you know
Okay,
the
so
problem
really
with that
quickly-
is, while it may not be
Of course.
true, it sounds believable with us. And so that's why it's a worry.
It is true.
Rob, just really quickly, Rob and Ben, super quickly, today's a very special day, and the best way to celebrate is, of course, with a bit of nostalgia, and this is thanks to our very good friends at Channel 7 from the 1980s. Let's have a look.
I love this. I don't get it.
Indeed, a very special celebration. There it is, our 88th episode in Channel 7 from the 80s. It's just a very special
This
day.
is
Thank
our
you,
own
Channel 7.
Expo 88. That's so exciting. What is it?
88 episode.
Robbo, he said Expo 88, not Expose 88.
Oh, well, yeah. I wasn't alive in
already turned
1988,
crass.
so I wouldn't know.
I was.
He was.
Yeah, I know you were.
It still shocks me to this day that you're younger than me.
He was
Can we do a
alive in
poll?
88, Ben. Do not believe that. Jesus.
Well, I'm not very good with maths. Terrible with maths. So, no surprises there.
There is a lot
Well, it's
coming
fun,
up.
though.
Go on.
No, that was it. Sorry.
Actually, while the show's being really loose, can I just say, I want to say thank you to Alan and Unwin for sending my partner and I 10 books in lockdown. And considering that we read a book a year, that's 10 years. 10 years of literature to read. So thanks to those guys.
Where was that from? Where was that from again, Ben?
Alan and Unwin, they're a publishing company. They got in
And
contact
I'd like
with me.
to thank
you.
Coca-Cola for the Coke that goes into my bourbon and Coke. And Robbo?
Actually, while
I'd
we're
like
still
to thank
doing this, can I just say also thank you to Alana and her partner Robbie. Alana was on the show yesterday. They gave me this face mask, and you guys will like it because it covers up most of my face.
How much are you getting for that one?
You look like
Well-
Deadpool.
Anyway, I'm so sorry. I've turned into a complete lunatic.
No, I'll tell you what. I'm sure everyone watching thinks this has been the best 5 minutes of internet streaming.
I'll ask my partner.
Let's get
Are
to it.
people switching off? Yeah. People are switching off. Okay, great. Mainly because of my shirt.
There is so much coming up today. We are talking movies with Joe Casamento. There's a lot happening in the entertainment world. And we, of course, are chatting hot button issues. So let's get into it. And getting a vaccine for COVID-19 was never going to be a smooth road, as developers have learnt firsthand. The trial was stopped due to unexpected side effects in test patients, but it has since been discovered they were unlikely to be linked to the vaccine. However, there are now 2 trial patients who have developed neurological symptoms. Independent reviewers have said the trial should continue. Both AstraZeneca and the University of Oxford are yet to comment publicly, but it got us thinking, are we putting too much faith in a vaccine? Robbo, more and more you've been talking about living with COVID. Would you take this vaccine if it was offered in, say, a few months?
I don't think I would, and I'll tell you what. I think it's because whenever I think of side effects, I always think, oh, maybe you get a fever for a little bit, or maybe you get a runny nose or something. That's it. The moment that I read neurological side effects, I thought, oh, it didn't even dawn upon me that something could happen maybe with your central nervous system or your brain or something like that. That has now put me off. They always say that you never buy the first of anything, i.e. you never buy the first iPhone, you never buy the first Nokia. You always wait till that second kind of iteration of that particular product before you buy it so they can work out all the kinks. I would say no. It would have to be around for a while for me to feel comfortable with someone jabbing me with that.
I couldn't agree more, Ben. It is a worry that we're trying to push a vaccine through, and these kind of things usually go through 5 years of tests and studies, and there is such a desperation for this. We seem to be saying just ram it through, and how can it have the proper checks and balances if we do ram it through?
Yeah.
Well, I think it is going to be a difficult journey for us because we are in a dire circumstance. I mean, I can tell you that a family member of mine died of COVID yesterday, and it's a very heartbreaking time for people in my family coping with that. And I will do anything, not just because it has affected us, when I say us, my family personally now. I think I just need to do what needs to be done to, get this vaccine on the road, because I think a lot of people out there are anti-vaccine, and I completely respect that because, they're a little bit dubious. But I think we do need to really work with people while we try and find this vaccine. I think it's going to be a long journey, but I think we need to work with them.
Look, Ben, sure, and I'm really sorry to hear. I haven't actually personally known anyone who has died because of COVID-19, so I'm genuinely sorry to hear of your loss. It's
the most vulnerable are, they're the ones that are being affected, and I can say that this person was in their 90s, so they've lived a good life, and they were fantastic. A fantastic person who I was really lucky to spend time with. I think it was really a blessing, really. But to tell you what, he was a very interesting person and lived a fantastic life, and it's sad that his life ended with COVID.
Yeah, it's very sad. Robbo, what I would say, though, is coming back to your point, it does concern me about ramming something through, especially in the United States where this is becoming a political issue. Trump wants a vaccine before the November election so that he can go to the polls with it. It worries me that shortcuts have to be taken to make that happen. And if we look at what's happening, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention Director Robert Redfield, gave testimony in the Senate, in a Senate panel on Wednesday. That he said a limited supply of coronavirus vaccine may be available between November and December, but that it was unlikely to be available to the general public until the summer or fall of next year. He also said that masks on the whole would be better than a vaccine anyway because it contains it. Trump came out straight away and said he was confused, he misspoke, he misunderstood the question. This is the problem we have when you take something as big as coronavirus and turn it into a political issue, which has been my concern about this even here in Australia. I do have a genuine concern. I want the vaccine. I will take the vaccine eventually, but it worries me if it comes too fast without all the proper clinical tests.
And I think you should be worried. Everyone should be worried. Absolutely, Donald Trump has turned this into into something of a political football that he certainly hopes to get kicked back into his own goals because he has handled the COVID crisis so badly. Many Americans believe that even though he is getting more popular, many people are believing that he just downplayed it. It was awful the way it was handled. So what better way to reverse that in the Donald Trump way to say, hey, before you vote for me, I've saved you. Here's the proof. I've done this. I would be very hesitant. It would be great if we could get this to happen where, you could never actually fully believe it, but get Donald Trump to take that vaccine before the election live on camera with an independent doctor. But I would just never believe that it was actually
You couldn't
true.
trust it.
No,
No.
you couldn't trust it. Of course you couldn't. But it just strikes me as something is that's what he'll do. Look, I'm your savior. Now, if he gets put back in, if he's re-elected and things go terribly wrong, you watch him run away from that quicker than the Roadrunner runs away from Coyote. It will be so quick, and there will be a million reasons under the sun. Joe Biden said you should take it. All that kind of rubbish. It doesn't matter if he gets in or not. He just wants people to get the jab, and then we'll talk about it later after I'm back in the White House. Very scary.
Well, speaking of Donald Trump, Twitter has once again slammed down its #1 ticket holder. Donald Trump has shared a video twice that appears to show Joe Biden playing a song called F the Police, and I'm censoring that, at a campaign event. It also featured the N-word. This is one of the tweets from Trump saying, China is drooling. They can't believe this. Well, it turns out China shouldn't believe it because it's simply not true. And that's why Twitter slapped it with an alert saying, and I quote, manipulated media. And if you click that link, it takes you to the original video, which is far from offensive. This is the original video. No, we don't have the original video. My apology. Look, Ben, I want to ask you about this. Twitter dines out on Donald Trump using its platform to get his message across. So do they have the right to censor him? Or should, if he's violating their terms and policies, should they actually ban him?
Well, I just wish that Twitter was actually on the payroll working in America for him so that they could censor him more often because, he himself has admitted that he needs censorship because he backtracks on a lot of things that he says. And I think for the American people at the moment, there's all that kind of, wow, Donald Trump speaks his truth and he talks like us so then he can run the country. But at the end of the day, it would be hard to understand why anyone would vote for him considering Joe Biden believes in science when Donald Trump doesn't know anything about it.
This isn't about voting intentions. What I'm talking about here is Twitter. They get the benefit of the media constantly reporting about, and I heard that you owe us a case of beer, Ben.
No, it's Siri. She actually thinks that she's more important than me, and she just jumped in and weighed in on the debate. And she's like, anyway, I'm just going to go turn her on.
Robbo, what I would say is that Twitter are dining out and getting a lot of press coverage because of the fact Donald Trump announces policy on its platform. Can they have it both ways?
Yeah, look, I think they can. I think you create a bigger storm if you take Trump away from Twitter. It will only electrify his base, and I don't think that's what we want. I like this, actually. I love that this is finally happening. A little while ago, I mentioned on the show that when it goes into an election period, into a campaigning, especially here in Australia, all advertising is exempt from having to be true. You can say pretty much what you like in a political advertisement and you can get away with it. Now, what I like, I'm not sure of the laws in the US, but on Twitter, I like that they're doing this. If you watch the two videos, you can clearly see it's almost like some kid did it on iMovie where they chucked the song in. It is just
it's true.
Ridiculous. It's so bad. And yeah, he should be pulled up on it. And I love because he loves Twitter, so I love that Twitter's kind of clapping back. This is really bad, Rob, and the fact that he can just like laugh it off and just kind of dismiss it. I'm so worried about the world post November 3.
But Robbo, I was just going to say to you, I think this is a real sign that Donald Trump is worried because he's creating fake opportunities to go against his opposition, and they're so transparent, and we all know, because we've all been on the playground at school, how bullies can try and treat you. This is one of the oldest tricks in the book. So I think Donald Trump might have a little bit of information on the side, and that is that statistics are saying that, people are interested in Joe Biden.
It's not just even his own polling. All the polls are showing that. Interestingly, he did a town hall on ABC News yesterday or the day before with voters on the fence, not knowing which way to vote. And when they came away, they didn't feel, he plays very well to his base, but people that had voted for him that were now on the fence didn't get any actual substance out of him and a reason to vote for him. So it's going to be a fascinating election, and we'll be watching as it unfolds in November. Well, look, the national airline is about to launch a very special flight to a surprising destination. Where? Well, it's exactly where you start. In an effort to stave off the pandemic, Qantas has joined other airlines around the world to offer flights to nowhere. On October 10th, the Flying Kangaroo will offer flyers a scenic trip over the NT, Queensland and New South Wales. But tickets won't come cheap, with a seat in economy costing over $700. At the pointy end, you can enjoy your flight to nowhere for almost $4,000. Ben, are you inspired to take to the skies?
Yeah, I was going to say offering people a trip to nowhere. I'm hoping that's not a tagline for the Ben, Rob and Robbo show.
Oh, no, we take our viewers to heaven and back.
But you know what? I really read this article the wrong way to start with, clearly. But I just want to say, I was like, as if I'm going to pay $700 to go nowhere. But then I also thought about how much I love Qantas and think it's a huge part of Australian history.
Is it another cha-ching there, Ben? For goodness sake. Is that another
guys,
one?
I've really got to go because I've actually got to take my luggage through check-in and I've got a flight to nowhere. I'll be back on Monday. Okay, bye.
Robbo, it's quite interesting. Let me ask you this question. There are flights to Antarctica, so you can go and see that. You know, you fly down there, the plane tips, you have a look, you come back. And when there are space shuttle flights, you won't actually have a destination. Yes, we usually travel to get to a destination, but the experience of flying is part of the experience. You get to the airport. If you've got membership, you go to a Qantas club, or you have a meal at the, there is a whole event taking part as part of flying. So I wonder, is it enough?
You okay there, mate? just catching your breath. Okay, good.
It was the Coke in the burp.
Yeah, we could tell,
Rob,
but I just thought it was a good opportunity.
I really thought I was hiding that well. I was like, you know.
No.
That was great. I enjoyed
think
it.
you're exactly right. I think flying is a big part. Obviously, I used to do a lot of flying when I was at... Oh, now it's happened to me. That wasn't even a joke. Damn it. Oh, my God. Oh, I thought, no, this is... It happened in slow-mo in my brain when my brain was like, this is not happening.
And Robbo, all this is saying is when Ben made that joke about us drinking from 9:30, people are genuinely going to believe it.
Yeah,
And so they should.
Probably bloody should.
Ben, stop throwing us under the bus.
Back
There'd be no
to
fun in not doing that.
Qantas. I agree with you. So I used to fly a lot with Studio 10, and I actually really loved it. A lot of people don't like flying, but I liked, checking in and doing a lot of that kind of thing. The difference with this flight, I think, and you're right, Rob, what a great analogy with the space flights, which is, perfect. With this flight, they're actually going to be flying not at 38,000 feet, but much, much lower, so that you can actually see certain things like Uluru, Katajuka, various places in Queensland, New South Wales. So I actually really liked it. So you certainly won't be as high as you normally would for a commercial flight above the clouds. You'll be much, much lower, and that's part of the whole experience. There'll also be a special menu on board, but surely, now that's interesting because you're paying a lot less for an economy seat, but they're saying that the menu on board is a special Neil Perry menu. Will the economy people be getting the same as the business class people?
Oh, very interesting point. I tell you what would work is if you could get in the first class flight for the $700 and a business class for $500 and economy for $300. I reckon a lot of people would take that up. I think the prices are too high because I'd love to experience the first class.
Yeah,
Have you never been in first
too
class
high, but also you can look at. But that's the other thing, actually, Rob. Now that we're really dissecting this is important. If you're on the aisle seat, you're not seeing. You can fly the plane as low as you bloody want. If you're on the aisle seat, you're not seeing bloody anything.
No, they play musical chairs during the middle of the flight. They put the music on, and everyone has to walk around the cabin. And then if you're near the emergency seat when the music goes off, you get the emergency seat.
Just to let people know who are playing at home that our show is normally factual from Monday through to Wednesday, and then Thursday is a bonus show.
Yeah, that's fair.
Thank you, Ben. Well, look,
Cheers
Yesterday marked 64 years since television arrived in Australia. Let's take a look at that historic moment.
Good evening and welcome to television.
From Channel 9 comes the first television program in Australia. Station TCN presents This is Television.
The old TCN building's changed a lot since then, about to be torn down as Channel 9 moves to a new venue. But, Robbo, of course, the big controversy with that is it wasn't actually the recording of David Gingell doing the first opening night. It was recorded later when they thought, oh, we should have a memento of that. But it did get us thinking, what is the future of TV? Robbo, where do you think TV is heading? It's certainly changed a lot in the last few years.
Well, yes, really quickly back to Ginge there, if I can call him Ginge.
No, you can't.
You were right. He recorded that.
not.
Okay, well, I just did. Gingy.
Well done.
You're right. He recorded that later, but when he actually did it on the night, it was out of a wardrobe in Surrey Hills, and that is where he actually did the original of that. That obviously was never recorded, but that's where he did that first broadcast from there. There you go. Have a drink for Tipsy Trivia Thursday. I've run out.
Oh my God,
okay,
Tipsy
that's probably
Trivia
not good.
Thursday.
Robbo.
That is what we're doing next week. You used to do the $5 quiz at Studio 10. Let's do Tipsy Trivia Thursday with our guest host,
Still got the jacket?
Ben Norris. No, David Roberts.
Okay, great.
Television.
Get to talk on the show. It sounds good.
Very seriously, I think it's very sad what's happened to television. I guess it's almost inevitable what's going down. We're losing it, aren't we? We're saying goodbye to big personalities for the first time. Networks are letting go of those big names that have stayed with them for so many years. Television has brought such amazing moments, but I and Rob and Ben, I'd love to know your thoughts. I just don't know how you could ever resurrect it. It was the right place, obviously, the right time. All of these wonderful images that we're seeing here were brought to us by television. The only way we would have seen them, I don't know why The Sopranos are in there, but a great series. Yes.
It was on Channel 9.
But, yeah,
Some great
absolutely.
TV moments.
Yeah, it was. Some great TV moments there.
but-
I just don't think there's any. I can't see a future in it. There was a theory for a while there that we're going to move away from drama and things like that, even though the code still says we've got to have that, and we'll go to big shiny floor shows because your Netflixes and your Stans of the world can't do them. Well, they're becoming even more expensive and less people are watching them as well. So it was almost, that was their last, kind of with sport, was their last kind of try at keeping and establishing an audience. It's not dead yet. I mean, Masked Singer did over 1 million people for their grand finale. But it's so sad. It's like watching an old horse
but
that you've had.
it's on life support.
Well, it's
Robbo.
like watching an old horse. Yeah, it's like watching an old horse that you've had since you were a kid, and it's just stumbling a bit now, and you think, oh, bloody hell. It's sad to look at, but...
Well,
Geez, I
that's
love it.
interesting about looking at where we started with that story, and that is that we saw some footage of what television looked like when it first turned on. And I have to be reminded, not that I was around for that time, but TV used to be really aspirational. And, a lot of people sitting in their homes, probably in Australia, might not have seen the Sydney Harbour Bridge, or, they really got to be taken outside of a world that they never lived in before. Where with television these days, I think that we've just bitten off. It's almost like we've played with the toy a little bit too rough. And I like to use that analogy because what do you do when you've broken the toy? You've really got to try and work out where it's going to go next. And I think people are really divided. I think that where we are in this day and age at the moment with things being quite harrowing, you see people being addicted to true crime. True crime years ago wouldn't have had the popularity that it had. And I think that's a reflection of society. And I think that that's, again, more reality. And I think that, we've really lost the magic of what it was with, wanting to tune in and see people and places that we aspire to go to. And if you think about it, with people locked down now, people are being put back into those situations of having to live through their television. So let's up the game and not treat our audiences stupidly. And let's start giving them content that is smarter and cheaper and probably more likely to engage and make people feel alive, because we need that right now.
Well, it's funny you say that, Ben, because there's no doubt the networks are focusing on that 7:30 time slot because that's where the biggest advertising is, but it's diminishing and it's coming down and it's coming down. And shows like this, shows like The Panel, don't exist on TV anymore, and which is quite weird because they're cheap to make, but it's just not the focus of where the networks are at the moment. And
But you know why that is the case, Rob? And sorry to cut you off because I got to speak a lot just before, but the reason why these sorts of panel shows don't resonate with the bigger audiences that they used to is that a lot of people sitting at home are like, who are you? Like, why are you speaking?
I don't agree with that. You look at the engagement we get on this show, and people like having the conversation along with us. I think there is absolutely a place for shows like this in prime time in a 9 or 9:30 slot.
I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you, Rob. Like, I wouldn't be here if that was the case, but I'm just telling you about the origins of why those shows have been seen less and less of, and that is because there is a large chunk of Australian audiences that are like, okay, that's the gay man, he's supposed to represent me, but he doesn't represent me. And there's a lot of that kind of thing happening where before we used to love, Kate Lambrook being on the panel. We didn't think we could do a better job than her. We enjoyed her being the voice of the people. And I feel like
the one thing I would say about that though, Ben, is the problem is the people who run these networks look at recent events, and The Verdict was the most recent show like this tried in a primetime slot, and it didn't work because it was badly produced. It didn't have the flow. There was just people with overinflated egos yelling. There was no control of what was being said, and it was a mess. And that's why that didn't connect with audiences. I do see that shows like ours on the internet are helping the fragmentation of television because people are coming to us, connecting with our views, disagreeing with some of us. Some days they agree with me, some days they agree with you and Robbo. And, we are
I'm even agreeing with you now.
Here. Yeah, well, there you go. Look, before
but don't you think it's funny? I know. Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, don't you think it's funny? Everyone's like, oh, he's still talking. Don't you think it's funny and also amazing is the regulars that are watching this show every day? Because I go through and have a look and read all the comments. I find that really fascinating after the show. And then you see the same people coming back. And a lot of those people have shared with me offline. And I know, Robbo, you were talking about someone yesterday or after the show about how you'd engage with someone as well. And I think it's really powerful that we have an opportunity to engage with audiences the way we have been doing, because those people who are engaging with us are looking for a lifeline. They're looking to engage.
And that's what television is missing at the moment. Look, we are certainly familiar with the difficulties of live broadcasting, but check out this moment on the ABC's News Breakfast program this morning.
Soon, Matt Wright there in the Tiwi Islands. Oh, hello.
Oh.
Darkness befell the studio. PK, save us.
Oh. Well, I can tell you, I can give you some good news. How's that? The Australian cricket team, there might be some more people can watch live sport.
All right. Thanks, PK.
Thanks very much, PK.
Thanks,
I told you you've got to pay the power bill on time. Okay? Otherwise, stuff like this will happen.
We kicked the generator. We're back.
Have a nice
All
day.
okay.
Nice save. Hey, look,
I loved that.
He's the king of controversy, but Kanye West has infuriated the music industry. Let's get a hit of entertainment with Ben Norris. Ben, what has happened now?
Thanks, Rob. Kanye has posted a video last night on social media which appears to have him urinating on his Grammy Award. Check this out.
Oh, my God.
You know what? It's just outrageous. The public demise of this artist, I'd have to tell you, is just crazy. Can you believe that this man at the start of 2020, this is how far we've come, at the start of 2020, he believed he could be the president of the USA. This public breakdown of his, all with those aspirations of something of grand illusion, has led him to the place of, like, a real public mess. And I want to know from you both, do you think that this kind of behaviour is being celebrated by his core fan base, or do you think he'd be losing them from, almost making a mockery of the people that have made him who he is, or the Grammys who have recognised who he is?
I really like that comment there, Ben. I think making a mockery of the people and also the entities that have supported him. I think that's an absolute. I totally agree with you. What a great point. It's not like he's peeing on I don't know, people who are racist or something like that. He's peeing on something that has supported him, that has helped him, that has been celebrated for. He is an idiot, and I've always said it.
Yeah, but Robbo, there's also the problem that the guy's going through. He's not all there at the moment, and he's really going through something. And this comes back to something we discussed yesterday: is does the media have a obligation to stop reporting on him? Remember when Brittany was going through her breakdown? I mean, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. He's putting it out there for his millions and millions of followers. Should we be reporting on it? It does leave a bad taste in my mouth, but it is part of the news cycle.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'll take that. I'll take that from you. But I mean, we're always going to report the news and we're always going to report these things, but that's stepping away from the actual issue. This is a man who is having a public breakdown. We as the audience, we don't actually know all the facts. All we are getting is what we're getting. And at the end of the day, what his act is, and that's all we can really comment on, because I don't have all the facts. I can't go down the rabbit hole on his mental health issues. But what I can say is just how disrespectful. And that's all we can comment on at the moment. And with Brittany, we didn't get the facts. We didn't get the facts with Brittany until years later when we watched that public breakdown. Her core fan base never waned. They were so worried for her. And then when we found out, the rest of us found out that kind of behavior was due to a mental health issue, we all saw it differently. So until we can get to the point of feeling like we can forgive him or understand his situation, all we're left to do is comment on a man that pissed on his Grammys.
Yeah, true. Well, look, there's more entertainment coming up in about 20 minutes. Ben, what else have you got for us?
Absolutely, Rob. Look, Hamish Blake managed to gate crash Channel 9's biggest event, which happened yesterday, which is their upfronts. And also, Joe Hildebrand has found a brand new job after leaving Studio 10. And also, we have plenty more information about a classic TV show that's been given the chop. So stay right here on the Ben, Rob and Robbo Show for all your entertainment news.
Thank you, Benny boy. Well, in a climate where print media seems to be dying a slow death, there is one young man determined to keep it alive. Christian King is the youngest newspaper owner in Australia at just 25 years old, and is responsible for the publishing of many local titles in places like Goulburn and the Southern Highlands in New South Wales. And he joins us today to talk about the future of print. Christian, welcome to the Ben, Rob and Robbo Show.
G'day there. Pleasure to be on the show.
Mate, it's good to have you here. You've said that there's, and I quote, never been a better time to be in regional newspapers. I need you to elaborate on that, because we've seen the closures of a lot of newspapers. The economic environment is not great. Advertising revenue is down across the whole media sector. You've got to explain this comment to me, because I'm excited by it.
Look, thanks so much. There's a number of reasons. I mean, looking at the media landscape at the moment, there's a lot of opportunities that have been created following that withdrawal from Australian Community Media, ACM, and also News Corp. And as you'd be aware, there's a lot of independent newspapers that are popping up across those areas where they have closed.
Okay, so because the big guys are getting out, it's leaving space for the independent operators to actually come in and be part of the community.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, look, at a national and metro level, consumers of news are highly engaged online and across different mediums, but that's not the case in the regions. As the communities really like their local, they like to, keep local content within the papers, and for us, what we do is we don't publish any syndicated content whatsoever.
Wow.
And I really believe that's like the magic ingredient of getting your local newspapers to grow.
That's huge.
Christian, you're obviously so young. You can take that as a compliment. You're welcome. I was just going to say, back in the day, people used to think that age was a barrier, and sometimes that would hold you back. Do you ever find that age has been a barrier for you in this landscape now?
Look, at the moment, no, not at all. But when I first started the newspapers in the beginning, it was a bit of a barrier. But, for instance, in the Southern Highlands, the product holds its own and people trust the product, and, me being a part of the product, that's what they trust. But, whether dealing with large corporates, ad agencies, I mean, really don't experience it much at all. But what I would like to say, though, just on the topic of age, if you wouldn't mind letting me, is recently ABC chair Ita Buttrose made some statements about young people. And there was a quote she used of, quote, young people need a hug. Now, I've never been hugged. I've been kicked up the arse a few times. And
is the future of journalism really moving to online? I mean, you're saying from your point of view that, you know, you're trying to jumpstart it with passion, but there's a lot of people still out there wondering if we'll ever see print, you know, being delivered to people's houses.
yeah, look, that's a really valid point. And I believe for your larger metro regions, print is certainly on the way out, which is really unfortunate, but that is the climate in the market. But you have to understand in regional areas, you know, for news of what's going on in their area, what's happening with the council, what announcements are coming up from my local MPs, people really rely on that local paper. And also the businesses that advertise with us, you know, they report great results, which is, you know, fantastic for us to hear, but also that keeps them churning away. And you're not, you know, whilst, you know, larger publishers have, you know, launched online products for regional areas, it really still lies within print. That is the future, definitely, for regional Australia.
All right, Christian, let's talk brass tacks here. I can barely afford a meat pie, but at 25, you own a couple of newspapers. Where's the money come from, my friend? No one likes to talk money, but I need to know, because you're already my bloody hero financially. How does that all start? It's amazing what you're doing. I'm not going to take away what you're doing is amazing. I am just at an odds to work out. But I'm very proud of you. Go ahead.
Definitely. Look, our income comes from advertising revenue, and, you know, primarily that's the small to medium businesses that operate in those regional areas. Sure. Yes, there are some large corporates that advertise, you know, to that demographic, but that's really what gets us through and over the line. One thing as well that we're extremely grateful for is that at the end of last year, we were a successful recipient of the Regional and Small Publishers Innovation Fund, which is a federal government grant for local newspapers. And, you know, that's really allowed us in this current climate, especially following, you know, the bushfires and floods earlier and drought, and now with the COVID situation and the economic impacts of that, it's allowed us to take on a couple more journalists full time, which is really exciting.
That's fantastic.
Because there's never been, you know, a greater time for the need to get independent news out there.
Well, Christian, we love your passion. I think you are absolutely brilliant. Thank you for being on the Ben, Rob and Robbo show today.
Absolute pleasure, boys. Have a great afternoon.
It's the Random Life Shot of the Day. Where are you going today? You'll never know where you'll end up with the Random Life Shot of the Day.
Well, as we load up the Google Earth and head to today's destination, it's a place where we are visiting actually has their national anthem printed in microtext on the back of their $1,000 note. Clarke Quay is one of the favourite places to stay in Singapore. In the 19th century, Clarke Quay was an ordinary inconspicuous fisherman village with a small jetty. Later, thanks to the east and west trade, Clarke Quay became a developed port. It's a mostly cloudy day over there with a top of 30 degrees after a low of 26. I actually stopped then, Amanda. I got confused because I thought that was still the Google map. So I was looking like, Amanda, take the Google map, But that's the light. Oh yeah, you can see cars going in the background. Meanwhile, let's go to some feedback coming through to the Ben, Rob and Robbo show. What have I done? I've done we have been having trouble with the feedback. Mary says, once the borders all open, let's fly to one place for a Ben, Rob and Robbo get-together / piss up. Oh, I like that idea, Mary. We could all go to where would we go? We could do it.
Well, she's in Adelaide.
Yeah, but
ask Mary if we can go to her place.
We have some mates at the Brisbane Holiday Village. We could all go there and do an OB from there. Justine says, woohoo, yes to Tipsy Trivia Thursday. Although we can't do it next week, can we, Robbo? Because we have a huge, huge guest next Thursday.
Massive guest.
Like, they don't get any bigger and more controversial, shall we say, than the person we have on next Thursday.
Oh, yeah.
Jamie, this is why I love the Ben Robin Robbo Show and its platform. Unedited, uncensored, most of which you would not get on mainstream TV. Beck says exactly, I agree with Rob. I love panel shows. Malcolm says, so correct, Ben. The TV toy is broken. Ben, there is a lot of love for your comments today, and people are loving what you say. So thank you for that.
Oh, you've brushed over them all.
Well, only because I don't have the super working. Oh, jeez. There'll be. Let me tell you, everyone. There will be a meeting after the show to discuss why I didn't have the comments up for Ben's good commentary. So on Monday, you'll all have to say it again. All right. In a moment, we'll be going to entertainment, but we've got to talk to a very special person first. Well, it's time to talk movies and pop culture with our dear friend Joe Casamento. Tipsy Thursday to you, Joe.
Oh, yes. Tipsy.
Oh, I've got a very Gatsby-esque champagne here. Cheers to the finer things, shall we say.
Absolutely, absolutely. Hey, Joe, Saturday Night Live has tapped Jim Carrey to play Democratic presidential candidate and former US Vice President Joe Biden.
That's right. Jim Carrey, who we know and love for all his impersonations, is a surprising choice to play Biden, considering that he's not part of the regular cast and that former cast member Jason Sudeikis is known to play Joe Biden. He does him very well and very regularly. However, Saturday Night Live has been bringing outside sort of talent into the box, as we know, with Alec Baldwin, of course, does that amazing, fantastic impression we all know and love of Donald Trump. And they've even had Brad Pitt on to play Dr. Anthony Fauci. I don't know if you've seen that one. It's quite funny.
I haven't.
You haven't seen that? We've got a little bit of footage there, but he's very good at it. It's very clever. So it's not unusual to bring outside talent in. And, of course, Jim Carrey is, well known for his impersonations, so it should be fantastic. And it's all in the lead up, of course, to the presidential election. They like to lampoon and sort of get that satire going. And the other big news is they plan to launch the new season on October 3rd, and they do plan to have a limited in-studio audience. So that's at the Rockefeller Centre there for the upcoming session. Yeah,
I've never been a big SNL fan. The jokes seem to go too long, but they have big moments, and it's becoming the big thing for Hollywood stars to have these ongoing characters to become part of the zeitgeist, I suppose.
You're absolutely right. I feel like you're either a love it or kind of not get it kind of person, and I'm a little bit with you. My daughter is firmly in the SNL camp, and she keeps showing me these skits, and to me, I don't know, some of them are hits, some of them are miss. You really have to pick out the top ones to get the real hits. But as you said, the Hollywood stars, they kind of gain a new cool vibe, I think. I think Alec Baldwin's career totally changed.
Oh, yeah.
When you can see you've got a sense of humour, it changes everything, doesn't it?
For sure.
Hey, everyone, who wants to get some Tipsy Thursday trivia? So Jim Carrey actually auditioned for SNL way back in the day, and he was rejected. It wasn't funny enough, wasn't good enough.
And didn't he go on to do In Living Colour?
He did. I love that show.
You might be right, yes.
Which,
I don't know what that
He
is.
was the minority
a very fun
because
character.
he was the only white person on it. Because In Living Colour was a black-focused version of SNL, really. Much funnier, too, just quietly. But he was the token white.
Well, Rob, I was just going to say to you, though, that his sense of humour was very black. So that was kind of the pun.
Yeah, that's right. Fair point.
Yeah, right. Well, it goes to show that, if you get knocked down once, keep coming back.
Absolutely.
That's right, exactly.
So, Joe, I want to talk a little bit about someone who we love. It turns out that Paris Hilton has been playing a character her whole life. What can you tell us about that?
Oh, my God. Tell me it isn't so. Stop the presses. We know Paris, who's shot to fame when she became the face of the, sort of 2000s, I guess, the noughties socialite scene. Kim Kardashian, can we not forget, was her personal assistant. So that sort of says how famous she was when she was the first to really break that sort of Instagram fame thing, you'll remember. She went on to star in The Simple Life alongside Nicole Richie. But she kind of has she's always, since then, really never regained that popularity. Now she's got a new documentary out on YouTube called This Is Paris. And there's plenty of shocking reveals in it, amongst it that she was tortured at boarding school, like drugged and all this sort of stuff. And also she talks about the sex tape, which really made her famous, and how these days that would actually be considered sort of a digital rape, she calls it. So
Yeah, I agree
abuse.
with that.
But the most shocking claim to her fans so far is that her voice is totally put on. She's using her real voice while promoting the documentary. She was caught on Sunrise this week talking to our own Edwina Bartholomew. And take a listen, because it's actually quite interesting, because she's always had that babyish voice, if you know what I mean. So let's take a little look at what she really sounds like.
Who is the real Paris Hilton?
Well, this entire time I have been playing a character, so the world has never really truly known who I am. And the real me is actually someone who is brilliant. And I'm not a dumb blonde. I'm just really good at pretending to be one.
Why now? Why now be so open?
I just felt like it was time for the world to finally know who I was. I feel that I've been through so much, and there's so many misconceptions and just preconceived notions about me. And also, I just, for my legacy and what I wanted to be remembered for, I don't want to be remembered as some airhead. I want to be respected for the businesswoman I am.
That, Joe, that's all well and good, but
yeah,
she has created that character, you know, like
she has, and very well.
Yeah,
Done
and
it very well.
And there's
yes.
no doubt. I've heard lots of interviews where the Simple Life, her and Nicole put on the reactions and all that kind of stuff and played up to it, and that's fine. But she got a lot of popularity out of that. It does sound like she's growing up, but then there's still that arrogance. I'm brilliant, you know, like. Okay.
I know. Look, I think this is one where her fans will still love her. Do I think she'll make any more fans? Probably not. Will she suddenly will she suddenly be appearing on CNN as a correspondent? I doubt it. You know, well, the Kardashians are exiting stage left. Maybe there's new room now for her to come back. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe it's the end of their era.
We'd only want her if she was doing the Paris Hilton. Do we want a more mature Paris Hilton, like as a doco series? You want the outrageous behaviour, don't you?
Yeah,
I think you do. And I've watched snippets of this documentary, and there's one really interesting thing where she's going on to DJ and her ex-boyfriend's there, and they actually have this really. I mean, there's nothing more interesting, I don't think. I don't know if it says something about me than listening to couples argue. Have you? You know when you actually listen to a real argument, because you know most people do it behind closed doors. And they've got their mics on, and the way she yells at him, but he's being a total dick. But it's actually more of that. I would definitely watch. That's for sure.
I might check it out.
All right, Joe.
I watched it.
Well, let's bring it home now. Let's bring it home now to a lovely, wonderful couple that you went down memory lane with when you went to the movies this week. What can you tell us?
I did, yes, Robbo. For over 50 years, the country music legend Slim Dusty and his wife Joy have sort of trailblazed their way across Australia. And, you know, everyone knows Slim Dusty and the musical legacy that to this day, I think, continues to not only entertain, but inspire a whole, I mean, I didn't realise till I watched this documentary, the whole legion of Australian superstars. I'm talking Keith Urban, Casey Chambers, Troy Cassar-Daley, that put him as their god and the reason they actually perform to this day. So theirs is one of these great partnerships in Australian music history, and I don't think we knew so much about his wife, Joy. It's a featured documentary. You can catch it at them right now. I saw it on the big screen. Let's take a little look at the trailer just so you know what I'm talking about.
Slim really was a keen songwriter, and he liked my songwriting.
There was a tendency to forget that those brilliant songs he was singing were written by the woman by his side.
It was like a painting of Australia, those songs.
107 albums, that's insane.
I filled the gap in his abilities, and he filled gaps in mine.
Sorry, Joe, did they say that his wife wrote the songs?
Yes, she was from the age of 11, actually a touring with her sister, singer-songwriter. So they had this amazing partnership, and she's sort of not the woman behind the man. She actually was the woman beside the man.
Yeah, wow.
And I think, yeah, it's actually, when I think about, her traveling from this little country town with her sister when she was like 15, 16 to the big smoke of Sydney, and they hooked up. She was already a star with this duo when they met each other on a tour that was put together of country music artists. And she had a baby, and she sort of talks in the documentary. It's really lovely. It's a great piece of history about how she had the baby and she was stuck at home and he was out on the road, and she was like, stuff that. I'm joining him. Real sort of, but for that era, quite amazing stuff. And I think,
sorry, question without notice. Do you know if she was credited on the albums as being co-writer or writer?
I actually don't. That would be a really interesting question, Rob, and I should actually find out for you because she definitely deserves it. And I think you could thumb your nose and say, I don't dig country music. I'm not really going to be interested in this. But it's more than that. It's bigger than the actual genre of country music. It's a great love story and a really just beautiful little piece of, cinema. So I'm giving it a good 4 choc tops from me. It was a good one.
And look, let's be honest, he transcended country music. He was a national icon, and his songs, everybody sang. So I think the fact that his wife was a big, if not
the pub
major
with no
part
beer.
of that.
Yeah.
I think that's a story well worth telling. I'm going to check that out on your recommendation.
Check that out.
Just quickly, school holidays are coming up. What can we do?
Yes, that's right. You can out the popcorn. Unfortunately, if you're in Melbourne, not just yet. But for the rest of Australia, you can get to the cinema, and school holidays, as you said, are coming up, and there's some great releases out. You can catch Trolls, which was released on streaming, but you can now see it on the big screen. That's Trolls World Tour. And you can also see Secret Garden, which is a very, very sweet English, the old story, but it's retold really beautifully. And that's one worth checking out. But if that's not your cup of tea, Netflix are actually releasing a whole heap of horror for the upcoming Halloween. No. So I don't know if that's more your style, but they've got a heap of movies coming up for release. I've watched a few of the trailers. It's not my kind of genre. The big one they're talking about is The Haunting of Bly Manor. And that's this one we can see here. And it's, there's a lot of scary movies coming out. So I don't know about you, Rob. Are you a horror film, or I see you more as a cuddly Trolls kind of guy?
I'm not a horror guy at all. Love a comedy more than anything, and a bit of Doctor Who. But if you're on Netflix, and I know we've got to go, but if you're on Netflix, I would say check out Teenage Bounty Hunters. It is one of the best shows you will see. It's not what you expect. If you liked Buffy, I reckon you'll like this. But it goes in unexpected directions. The writing is top-notch. It's really, we binged all the 10 episodes very quickly. Just great.
Wow.
So that's my...
So for the teens can watch it.
Teens can teens watch it?
Or is it adult only?
Yeah, we think, older teens,
Not the McKnight kids.
All right, that's a good one. Not the McKnight kids.
Joe, thank you very much. We love your insights. Tipsy Thursday to you, and we'll see you next week.
Oh.
We will.
Okay, love Joe. All right, Nine had their big upfront event yesterday. It's time for a hit of entertainment with Ben Norris. Ben, who was the famous face that crashed the event?
Yeah, Rob, actually, I'm going to get to that in a minute, but yesterday, Nine made its big pitch to advertisers in a glossy online event. Usually this is a thing that they do as a big gathering of advertisers for advertisers and media writers, but this year the whole thing had to be staged online due to the pandemic. So I can tell you that back in the day when I was a part of Channel 9, I got to introduce some stuff at one of these events, and I tell you what, they are a fancy event, but look, yesterday, people got some very exciting new information. The network is doing a remake of Channel 7's Beauty and the Geek. That is going to be hosted by Sophie Monk. Very excited for that. Super Nanny has Jo Frost coming into Australia, and she's going to host a new show called Parent Duty. But the big announcement was the brand new series of The Apprentice, and we've got the trailer for that right now, so check it out.
The UK billionaire who's ruled the boardrooms of London for decades is coming to Australia.
Never, ever underestimate me.
14 celebrities take on TV's star-studded new challenge.
You screwed it up. You're fired.
And face the toughest boss they'll ever meet. Lord Alan Sugar.
Well, Mark Boris is out and Lord Alan Sugar, what a name, is in. Now, I've got a good mate of mine who's obsessed with Celebrity Apprentice in the UK, and I think this is going to be the best series we've seen yet.
Yeah.
But the biggest surprise yesterday, the biggest surprise of the night, came during a speech by CEO Hugh Marks. Check this out.
So I hope you've enjoyed this new format. I hope you love this glimpse of our new facility. Please follow up with the 9 team, as I know they will all be...
Hugh, how's it going?
Following up with
sorry to interrupt you. It's Hamish here. How you going? Someone gave me the Zoom login details, so I just thought I'd pop by and see how you're going. So I'm a bit late. All good? All good? Presentation go well?
All good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, really good. I mean, obviously flat out at home in lockdown still.
In your Hugh
absolutely
Hefner
nose
outfit.
to the grindstone. Well, I tried to get a Hugh Marks one, but they're very rare. Only one made.
A lot of things went down last night on that. I'm so sorry if that audio didn't work for people at home. But what I will say is Hamish Blake is welcome to crash our show at any time. So, Rob, if you want to give him the login details for Hamish to be able to crash this show sometime soon, we'd love to have him on. I know that the McKnight family loves Lego Masters, so here's crossing our fingers for that. But look, exciting things for Channel 10. Hey, Rob.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry, Channel 9, I should say.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, there's no exciting things for Channel 10. It's all about 9. Robbo, sorry.
Cut his audio. Go,
Yes, no.
Robbo.
Exciting times all round. One of my favourite people that I've ever worked with in my entire life, Joe Hildebrand. He will certainly be back on our airwaves very soon, Ben. What can you tell us?
Yeah, this is really exciting because all three of us do love Joe Hildebrand. He's made his next move already after leaving Studio 10. Confidential can reveal that the popular broadcaster will be signing up with Sydney radio station 2GB. Now, yesterday he has been quoted in the media saying that he can't actually think of a better place and a better fit than 2GB. He also recognises that the old audience from Studio 10 are also the kind of people who would listen to 2GB, and saying that they are battlers from the suburbs, people who live in the real world, who like straight talk and big laughs, and we can't wait to reconnect with Joe when he hits 2GB.
Ben, thank you very much for another informative and extraordinary entertainment report. And that brings us to the end of another week of the Ben, Rob and Robbo Show. Big guests next week. We'll be announcing it very shortly. Tomorrow we'll be announcing next week's lineup. But
Massive.
It's a big guest, controversial, but we want to get to the bottom of some of this person's thoughts. We'll see.
Yeah,
you
Rob.
next week.
Before we go, can I plug these books again? Is
No,
it okay
your mic is cut off. I'm cutting you off. We'll see you next week on the Ben, Rob and Robbo Show.
It's the Ben, Rob and Robbo, Ben, Rob and Robbo, Ben, Rob and Robbo Show.